McCullough, and I am a professional YouTuber. I run a channel with around 840,000 subscribers, which might sound like a lot, but as I told the House Committee when I testified a few months ago, I have barely cracked the top 400 top YouTubers in Canada. Now, the reason why I'm here today is because over the last few months, I have had the honor of helping lead the charge on behalf of a large and thriving Canadian YouTuber community in our fight against Bill C-11. Shortly after I spoke at the House, video of my testimony went viral and was viewed over 500,000 times, which I think we can all agree is no small feat for a Canadian parliamentary committee hearing, and a testament to the depth of public interest on this issue. Thanks to that video and several other videos I've made about Bill C-11, I am now often stopped on the street by strangers who are worried about this legislation. When I'm walking down the sidewalk, I have even had people pull up in their cars beside me and yell out, "Hey, aren't you the Bill C-11 guy? Is it really as bad as they say?" And going forward, my answer will very much depend on what this committee chooses to do. Now, I want to be very clear about something. Content creators and consumers don't merely consider Bill C-11 a badly written bill, though it certainly is, and I think Justin has made it clear why. Many people, however, consider the bill at its core badly motivated. Of the dozens of online video makers and viewers I have heard from, all have been crystal clear that they have zero desire to live under a government with the power to force platforms like YouTube to push, promote, suggest, or otherwise encourage certain kinds of Canadian content to Canadians who have not freely chosen to see it. Arguments that doing so will somehow improve Canadian patriotism or nationalism or cultural sovereignty, in the words of the minister, are unpersuasive. The freedom of Canadian video creators to make what they want and succeed or fail based solely on the degree their content is enjoyed by an audience, domestic or foreign, is seen as a well-functioning status quo few Canadians want overturned. In its current unregulated state, YouTube has produced extraordinary Canadian success stories and given Canadian viewers untold hours of enriching content. To view this as a problem that needs fixing reeks of political obliviousness. All that said, I know how the Canadian government works, and I am sensitive to the unique constitutional role of the Senate. I know that at this point in the lawmaking process, people like me should hope for compromise rather than perfect victory. It is similarly important to concede that proponents of this bill within the Canadian media industry are animated by a sincere desire for fairness. The Canadian YouTubers and their audience members that I've spoken to are certainly broadly sympathetic to the idea that large tech companies should pay the same taxes and fees as any other media firm doing business in this country. YouTube has in turn suggested that if higher costs are imposed on them, these costs could be passed along to Canadian creators and users in the form of more ads or higher fees or even lower revenues for creators like us. But I think that this is a price that many Canadians would literally be willing to pay. Given the choice, I think most creators and their audiences would make a modest financial sacrifice if it meant that government would in turn no longer seek the power to influence the types of videos it believes Canadians should be watching or making. Another reasonable compromise that would uphold desires for fairness would be to simply lessen existing Canadian content broadcast obligations on old media rather than spread the burden to new media. Legacy broadcasters, after all, are not wrong to believe that internet broadcasters have received historically special treatment. During the 1990s, the Chrétien government made the far-sighted decision to explicitly not grant the CRTC power over online content, believing an unregulated internet would be the best way to let Canadian creators thrive. That prediction has more than come true, as evidenced by the enormous number of Canadians like me and my friends here who now make a living producing user-generated content for online audiences the world over. My hope is that the Senate does what it can to ensure this proven recipe for success is preserved. And if it's envied, why not afford all media its same privileges? It is freedom of choice and expression, after all, that have always been the greatest enablers of Canadian culture, not the heavy hand of government dictating what Canadians could or what Canadians should be creating or viewing. That is the tradition of some countries, but not of ours. In Canada, freedom should never be viewed as an obstacle to patriotism. Thank you.